Hello there everyone, welcome back to another video about the One Piece card game. I'm continuing this Set 6 coverage with a review of the brand new starter deck. This is for ST12, Zoro and Sanji. There's a lot to talk about, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the unboxing so you see exactly what you get inside, and then we're going to go to the in-depth review. So let's go ahead and cut to that. Alright, here's the part of the video where I show you what you get in these starters. I think they are... I think it's a good starter. I don't know if I'm going into it before or after you see this as to the actual review of how good it is. Whoa, very crazy playmat. And then you get the cards and you get a more eco-friendly insert, I guess. I do prefer, this is real high quality content, I do prefer that they put it in this instead of the stupid little plastic strips. Because those are really annoying. Okay, so you get the leader, and I've got to say, this looks really, really good. Cameraman is gonna show some nice angles. Oh yeah, look at those angles. So you get the leader. The leader is done one on attack. You bounce a 2 or greater cost from your field to untap one of your characters with 7k or less. So it's an aggro deck. Obviously right now that is not very good, but if we ever move away from control being good in the game, like I think this leader will be chefing. You get 2 of Ankov. This card is also nutty. It's on play is reveal the top card. If it costs 2 or less, play it. And then when attacking, you just draw 1 if you have 6 or less in hand. So just a advantage gaining machine. This is the real reason you're probably buying the starter for this card. This card's, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know who designed this. So this is on play. It's a 2k. On play, if you have 2 or less characters, play up to 1 Muggy Kingdom type or / attribute character with a cost of 4 or less other than Mihawk from your hand. So basically, you get to just play out a 4 cost on turn 2 for some reason, and also get a 4k body. It's pretty good. And then you get 4 copies of a lot of bad cards. So Kuina, the trigger plays, which is obviously decent, but you tap it to tap one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 4 or less. Seems kind of mid, especially on a 3/2. You get a vanilla, but don't worry, it's Muggy Kingdom, so you can play it off of Mihawk. Then you get a 4/6, which is Thriller Bark and Muggy Kingdom traded. And we get another card with effect. What's the name again? Yosaku and Johnny, that's it. Don 1 when attacking, either tap one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less, or KO one of your opponent's rest of characters with a cost of 2 or less. It's a good effect, but not on a 2-drop. Then we've got 4 Rika. Shout outs to that Rice Ball. It's the GOAT for real. On play, pay 2. If your opponent has 3 or more life, set up to one of your / attribute characters with a cost of 4 or less to active. So you basically get to untap something for 4 Don, which, yeah, I guess on a kill turn is probably okay. Obviously, the idea is you swing with, like you have this card, for example. This is on attack, you tap something. Oh, you only get 2 copies of it. And the idea is you slap a Don on it, you swing 7. Swing with your leader, untap it. Swing 7 again. Oh, sorry. You play this, untap it, swing with it again. Swing with your leader, bounce this, untap this, swing again. That's the idea. Well, crazy aggro, it obviously never works. Then you've got, for some reason, they keep putting 1/3s in these starters. On the blue side, we've got Sanji here. This one's pretty terrible. Don 1 when attacking, if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, it is a 5k until the end of your opponent's next turn. Great, I'm just going to bot deck it. Then you got 4 of this pudding. I think this pudding does see play. This is the one that's 2k counter, and then you can just bounce it. So, is fairly relevant. You can use this in Hancock in set 7 to just draw a card, and it's 2k counter. Funny. That's about it. Then we got 4 Zeph. This card is on play, look at the top 3 and stack from the top or bottom. And then when attacking, reveal the top card and you can play up to 1 character card with a cost of 2 or less and place the rest on the bottom of the deck. If it did both of those on play and then also had the on attack, and it was a 5/6, it would probably see play. But as it is, it isn't. Another one of the very good cards is a blocker that stacks the top 3, so this card sees quite a lot of play, as far as blue is seeing play. Another bad vanilla. And then we get the 2 events, so we've got Line Strike and, can't read that upside down, Plastic Surgery Shot. So Plastic Surgery Shot is terrible, I'm not even going to read it. Line Strike, though, is main and counter, rest up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards with a cost of 4 or less. That could see play, like counter, rest is quite good, so yeah, like against a deck that's, I'm sure we'll get some sort of Mega Tower deck where you stack up the leader and do all sorts of nonsense. And then you get 10 Don cards, whoop-de-doo. That's the unboxing. Cut to the rest of the video. And welcome back. Let's go ahead and jump right into the review. So, there are lots of new cards, as usual, in these sets. I think, you know, I sort of broadly discussed a few of them already, but let's start off with Zoro and Sanji. So, one interesting thing to note here is this is slash and strike attributed, and I do think that is something that may be relevant in the future, though I also get the feeling that the way this game is being designed, if it ever is, they'll print a strictly better version for whatever that deck is. But besides the point, worth noting that this is, you know, 2 traits might be relevant. 4 life, 5k, green and blue. Straw Hat Crew traded. Don 1, when attacking, once per turn, you may return one of your characters with the cost of 2 or more to the owner's hand to set up to one of your characters with 7,000 power or less as active. So, unquestionably, this is a very good effect. Downsides. Relying on cheap units means basically either play it that turn or it's probably getting removed by something. Secondly, on attack means you're very weak to all of the stun effects or rest effects that might happen as a trigger, because obviously this is not going to be the first attack you do, otherwise you're not going to be getting the value out of it. So, obviously, that second bit is less significant if you're able to attack into characters, but again, just all these things are worth bearing in mind. Downsides is covered. Upsides, wow, you can really combo this, right? Like, there's a lot of aggression you can put out. Lots of 7k swings, I think, is the point here. Very, very easy to do lots and lots of 7ks. So, we got that in mind. Let's look at some of the cards. So we've got Kuina here. This is a 3/2, 1k counter. Effect main, you may arrest this character. Arrest as one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less, and the trigger plays this card. So, I think unquestionably this is shit. This is a terrible card. If this was a 3/4, maybe a 3/5, I think this might have actually seen some play. The stats are way too bad to make the trigger play really mean anything. Again, obviously, the idea is you use this effect to tap down a blocker and then you bounce it. I get the idea, but it's just never going to happen. Basically, it's never going to happen. I would much rather play like a Cat Viper or Sugar, which is by far going to be the card I'm choosing over this, right? I'm always picking Sugar over this. So, yeah, just strictly worse version. Mihawk, this card is crazy. This is a 2k counter, 3/4, so 4k on a 3-drop is fine because you can just 1 Don and you're swinging 5. 7 Warlords traded. And on play, if you have 2 or less characters, just run out of 4-drop. It's absolutely crazy. My webcam has decided... So yeah, this card's nuts. You are able to just going first on turn 2, just run out a 3-drop and a 4-drop. It's just stupid value. This is one of those cards that I can see being very, very good moving into the future. Then we got Humandrill. This is a traded 3/5, so may matter into the future for those trades. Then we've got Perona. This is a 4/6. Again, traded, so it may matter because of the traits, but whatever. Okay, then we've got Yosaku and Johnny. This is a 2/3, 1k counter. Don 1 when attacking. Either rest one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 2 or less, or K up to one of your opponent's rested characters with the cost of 2 or less. So, you know, as with all of these cheap units, it's just going to get removed if it doesn't give you immediate value. I think, like, you know, if this said on play, do that. I think this might have actually seen some play. Because you just bounce it right back. If this was a 2k counter, again, possible, but it's just not doing enough to really justify single play, which is rough. We got Rika, 2-drop, 2k counter. On play, pay 2. If your opponent has 3 or more life, set up to one of your slash attribute characters with a cost of 4 or less as active. And there's sort of the L. Now, this card is slightly better because it's a 2k counter, so later on in the game you can just pitch it, and earlier on in the game you can, for 4, basically untap something, and for a 5th Don, you're able to get a secondary stand, right? So the idea would be going first, turn 1, do nothing, turn 2, Mihawk into Zoro, any 4-drop Zoro, turn 3, swing the Zoro, put a Don onto leader, play Rika, use Rika, untap it, swing with Zoro, Don onto leader, swing with leader, bounce Rika, untap Zoro, swing with Zoro. That's ideally what you do. Now, obviously, if you do that on turn going second, then that Zoro is going to be a 7k swing each time, which is obviously significantly better. So that's the theory, right? That's what you could do in theory. How often will you ever do that? I mean, reasonably, but it's just not a super powerful thing to do, especially when you factor in that the East Blue Searcher is kind of awful, right? Like you have to discard 2, the one in blue. So yeah, like, and the problem is they can't give it in blue, so they need to give it in green, and they didn't give green a decent East Blue Searcher, right? It has Nami, but that's top 3, so it's just not good enough. Then we got Zoro. This is another really good card in the starters. It's a 4/6, no attribute, no counter, and only Straw Hat Crew attributed, which really sucks. But Don 1, when attacking, rest up to one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 6 or less. This hits everything, like basically every relevant blocker in the game. So like this is a very, very good card. Like don't get me wrong, this is extremely strong, and like basically the best card in the starter for this deck. I think obviously Mihawk is the best card in the starter, but this is also pretty good. Yeah, very, very solid card. Doesn't see a great deal of play, unfortunately, but it is very, very solid. Then we got a shit card. I mean, this literally serves no purpose. I actually just don't know why they bother including these cards in here. Then we got Ivankov. This is the other SR, and this is also quite good. This is a 3/4 1k counter. On play, reveal 1 card on top of your deck, and if it's a character at the cost of 2, you get to play it. Fine. If you stack your deck, you can ensure that. The second effect is when attacking once per turn, draw 1 if you have 6 or less cards in your hand. That second effect is really, really solid. Being able to just plus like that is very good. Now, unfortunately, I think that's just sort of a consequence of the way they've designed black. Low cost things just are not living, right? Like it's just not happening. So if this was a 3/5, this would have been way better. If this was, I mean, frankly, the same effects on a 4 or a 5 drop, just throw blocker on there and a better stat line and maybe make it a 2k counter. This card I think would have been unbelievably good if it was a 5/6 1k counter, exact same effect text with blocker or something, right? Like that card would have been so strong. Unfortunately, I think it's just a consequence of them wanting to make the card better in this deck specifically, meant that it's just not actually that good. And that's a real shame. I do think if we ever move away from a meta with lots of black in it, this card's going to be crazy, right? So it's just, once black shifts out of the meta, this card's going to be way, way better. Then we've got Sanji. It's a 2/3, one attacking. It's basically a 6k swing for 1 Don. Very cool. It's no counter for some reason. Should have just given it counter. But yeah, I mean, obviously, again, if we move away from that low to the ground ability to remove the black has, like this card is objectively quite strong. You play it, if you go second, right, you play it, and you can just swing huge on your next turn, right? It is just a 2 Don 7k swing, which is obviously very, very good. So you can just go 7/7 on your second turn, and then your opponent's like swinging into a 2 drop, which is funny, but yeah. Then we got Pudding. This is a 2k counter in blue. This is fine. The activate main to bounce it is actually relevant in Boa Hancock. So unironically, this card is actually quite decent. Also, hilariously, potentially quite useful for dodging certain discard effects, where you know you're able to just play this card and like leave the Don open and just get it back on the next turn because it's not going to get removed. Very, very, very niche applicability there. Other niche applicability is if you just want to get a 2k counter back, you can revive this with Moria and just add a 2k counter, which is, again, pretty solid. So these are all like cool, cute little texts that you have access to that aren't like, you know, game breaking, but it's just a decent, solid card. And this is very good in Hancock in set 7 because you just bounce and draw, basically. So lots to like. Zeph, this is a 5/5, 1k counter. On play, stack the top 3, and then when attacking, reveal the top card, and you can play it at rest if it's a 2-drop. Just not good enough stats. Like, why is this a 5/5? There's, in my opinion, this should have been a 5/6 at the minimum. Yeah, it just feels really expensive for what it does. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels too expensive, in my opinion. Then we've got Duval. This is a very solid card. So 2-drop blocker, 1k counter, and on play, stack the top 3. This is the exact sort of thing this deck really likes. You're going to stack the deck, you're going to turn on all of your other effects that plus via this. Obviously it's a 2-drop itself, so it can just come out off of one of those effects, and you can just bounce it back to fuel your leader abilities. So this is a very, very solid card. Then we've got a 2/4, great. And finally, in the events, we've got Lion Strike. There's a 2-cost event. Main counter, rest up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards with a cost of 4 or less. This is okay, but Straw Sword literally exists. And then Plastic Surgery Shot. This is 1-cost counter. Give 2k. Well, okay, I should clarify. This can do it at counter speed, so okay, there is a benefit there, but I mean, Punk Gibson, right? And then here, this lets you potentially plus by playing character cards. So again, this is decent in the context of the deck, but really mid outside of it. And this I think is just mid, period. But there we go. That is ST 12, Zoro and Sanji. Overall rating, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think it is, in terms of, well, okay, it's a 6 out of 10. But it's again one of those mandatory pickups if you are ever planning to play green, because of how powerful Dracula Mihawk is. Obviously, if you are interested in the leader and the leader looks like the kind of thing you want to play, 10 out of 10. In terms of actual how it feels to play as a starter deck, this is definitely above average, right? If we go and compare this to a lot of the older starter decks, this is a lot more interesting, a lot more fun. I don't think it's as good as the Uta starter deck. It's certainly not as good as ST10, nowhere near. But it's better than all of, I think, STs 1 through 9. I can't think of a better one off the top of my head. It's better than those. So definitely better than that first year worth of starters, basically. Though I think it is the worst of all the starters we've seen so far in the second set. So there we go. That is my opinion on that. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel for lots more One Piece card game content, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Cheers.